the chairman of Mombasa Tourism Council.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to ask you about that in a bit, but also it is UN Tourism Week. What is going on? What does this entail, UN Tourism Week?
Okay. So, 27th of September
Yes.
every year is the World Tourism Day.
Okay.
And so what happens is different countries, and Mombasa for that matter, we have lined up activities for the week that will culminate on the 27th. Different activities to be able to mark that particular day. And therefore, what we do, we try to promote responsible tourism, sustainable tourism in line with the theme of the day.
Yes.
So we have lined up many activities as a county. National celebration will be happening in Kisumu, so government and everybody else will be Kisumu. But given that Mombasa is tourism is the mainstay of this particular region, we have lined up a lot of activities to be able to celebrate and mark that particular day in style in Mombasa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just a bit of research here. So, according to Global Tourism's body's latest research, travel and tourism's contribution to Kenya's economy is forecast to grow by 9% year on year to reach almost 1.15 trillion. Now, jobs supported by the sector are projected to reach more than 1.6 million, representing almost 8% of the jobs in Kenya.
Yep.
So, the tourism sector is generating a lot, right?
Yes.
Let's look at Mombasa, the coastal region. How is the tourism sector in the region?
Mombasa has done fairly well in the recent past. It's an industry that is quite resilient. We have suffered many loss. And if you look at the history of tourism, particularly in the coast region, we did very well in the early years. At some point, over 60% of Kenya's tourism bed nights were actually in the coast region.
Oh, wow.
Mombasa is significant because of the port and, of course, the airport and the port. And therefore, accessibility to the coast region, particularly for the international tourist, actually because of Mombasa. And therefore, this being the entry point means that we had the advantage, we had an advantage in terms of investment, in terms of accessibility, and that meant that people who came to coast started or came through Mombasa.
Okay.
Investment-wise, a lot of hotel infrastructure is actually based in Mombasa. However, Diani, Kwale, Kilifi, Lamu, and Taita Taveta and the other 5 counties of the region have also done significantly very well. And so we look at Mombasa as the icon and the place that sets the pace for the region. Lately, Diani has come up as a significant destination for leisure. Kwale is equally doing very well. Wildlife is in Taita Taveta.
Yes.
But then Mombasa did very well in terms of MICE and business traveling. And at some point, we were favored because of the government policy on, say, per diems, for example. And therefore, meetings ended up in Mombasa, and that was very good in terms of supporting the economy of this region. And if you look at what we do in terms of the influence that Mombasa has in terms of employment, it means that you notice tourism is one of the sectors that are highly labor intensive. And so before we move to robotics and the new things that are going to change the terrain and influence tourism in future, it means that we need many people to be able to work in the industry in terms of food and beverage services, movement of tourists from one place to another, and even the support on other economies that depend on tourism, transport, agriculture. So we look at tourism as a supermarket of sorts. We don't do chicken, we don't do pork, we don't do beef. These are done by everybody else, but then we don't manufacture the beds, we don't manufacture the tour vehicle. So everybody does this, and then all this gets a home in tourism. So tourism then drives the economy from that particular perspective.
You've said back then the tourism sector generated a revenue close to 60% of Kenya's revenue.
Yes.
What's
Tourism
the percent?
revenue.
Yes, tourism revenue. What's the percentage right now? Has it gone down?
We have suffered, as I've observed, we have had mm, significant lows in terms of, you remember, we had the Likoni clashes at some point. Lately, we had the famous 2007 political clashes, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so we have had a lot of challenges, and today we now have agriculture that at some point overtook tourism as the highest foreign exchange earner. We also now have international remittances. Still, this can significantly be anchored on tourism because we have also exported in the last 2 or 3 years. We have exported a significant number of young people who have joined cruise ship and are also working abroad in tourism-related fields. And therefore, we can still say tourism still contributing through international remittances.
Okay.
Yes.
You've mentioned young people, and there are a lot of young people listening to us,
Yes.
and also a lot of youths also looking for job opportunities. What kind of opportunities are there for the youth in the tourism sector?
Wow, massive. This is a highly labor-intensive industry.
Yes.
In terms of people to work in the service sector. You know, service sector is one of the fastest growing sectors in the world, and therefore there are many innovations, many opportunities in terms of hands-on. Working in the hotel industry, working in the fastest growing leisure segment of tourism, working in terms of tour guiding, and is also a sector that has a lot of opportunities in terms of creatives, because today destinations have just remained places. People are now traveling more for experiences. So whatever package you can come up with, young people for that matter who travel. Many years ago when we were young and when we joined the industry, we used to have visitors who would come to lie on the beach for 2 weeks and read a novel. We are not getting any more of these visitors. In fact, the beach beds are no longer on the beach. We used to have beach pool beds lying on the beach for people to go and relax and lie there for 2 or 3 weeks reading the novels and
Yeah.
everything. But now that is changing
Why?
because the modern tourist is now looking for experiences.
Oh.
I have observed a phenomena where people would probably not travel for 2 weeks whole. So we're getting a situation where there is increased, reduced travel time, but frequently. So instead of coming for 2 weeks, probably you travel to a destination for 2 or 3 days, move to another one for 2 or 3 days, and then the other one. And therefore, people are out here looking for experiences. So the young people have an opportunity to be able to package some of these experiences. And today, the tourist also gets information no longer from brochures, but from online platforms. And therefore, that poses another very good opportunity for the young people to be able to earn. It is argued that the transformations that we're experiencing in the sector are going to create many more other jobs that we haven't even realized today. For example, social media influencing. These are new jobs that we didn't have before. Curating and packaging experiences. These are things that we didn't have before. And therefore, young people, we can say, have a lot of opportunities. Those who want to venture into agriculture and supply the hotel industry now have a very good opportunity.
Yes.
Those who want to try their hands in cookery, in bakery, and even just we also having a culture now of people wanting to eat and dine out and coffee. So if you're good at these skills, hotels are struggling to get very good pastry chefs. Wameenda wapi? Wameenda kwa mikahawa. They're making, trying their hands out, and all those are very good opportunities.
Yes.
So young people just have to hone their skills. There are many opportunities in this particular sector, and it's also a sector that has opened up globally through government protocols, and now we're exporting a lot of labor through cruise and working internationally. And so young people have opportunities to either work back at home or even try their skills out there.
Swali langu itakuwa ni, you've talked of a lot of opportunities. Na uzuri tu umezitaja. But sasa nataka tu vijana wasikize zaidi kwa sababu we still have a lot of unemployment issues coast region mzima. So sijui hapo sasa kwa sababu umetaja there are a lot of opportunities.
Azitaje tena.
Na bado kuna hata sizitaje tena lakini nataka kuona nini vipi tena tuko na hizo unemployment cases nyingi wakati tumetaja kwamba hizo opportunities ni nyingi.
Naam, nafikiri nitazungumza kwa Kiswahili. Tuzungumze na watu wetu. Naam. Ukweli ni kwamba sekta ya utalii ni sekta ambayo ina fursa nyingi sana za ajira, na ni kwa sababu ni sekta ambayo inategemea ajira, sio teknolojia, sio ajira ya mikono na kufanywa na watu. Ni sekta ambayo inategemea watu. Tunasema kwa kimombo high labor intensive sector, kumaanisha kwamba ni lazima watu waifanye, na kunapokuwa na demand, supply, masuala ya supply na demand.
Naam.
Kwa hivyo kitu ambacho labda kimetutatiza tu katika eneo la pwani ni ile ambayo tunaita seasonality. Kwamba kuna wakati biashara inakoa na kwamba kuna wakati biashara inarudi chini, na hii inatokana na mipango ambayo tumekuwa nayo kama nchi, ama kosa kuwa nayo kwa sababu ya kuangazia utalii wa nje. Kuna wakati ambapo kumekuwa na majanga ambayo yamepelekea biashara ya utalii kuweza kudorora katika eneo hili, na hiyo inachukua muda kuweza kurudia hali yake. Lakini kwa masuala ya vijana ni kwamba katika hoteli kwa mfano, kuna kazi nyingi ambazo lazima ziweze kufanya kunapokuwa na wageni. Kwa hivyo labda wito ni vipi tunapaswa ni nini tunaweza kufanya kama eneo, kama nchi, kuhakikisha kwamba tunaongeza idadi ya watalii ambao wanakuja katika eneo letu, ili kwamba kunapokuwa na wageni inamaanisha kwamba kila mtu ataweza kuwa na shughuli. Na hotelini kuna zile kazi ambazo zinafanywa pale za kuhudumu, kutoka kwa wapishi kwenda katika vyumba vya malazi, kupeana huduma mbalimbali. Na watalii wanapofika baada ya kuwa wamekula na kulala, basi kuna shughuli za kufanya katika destination. Usafiri kutoka sehemu moja kwenda katika eneo lingine, kuweza kuzuru mandhari tofauti tofauti mbalimbali. Na hivyo kazi ambayo tuko nayo kama serikali na hasa kupitia MTC ni kuhakikisha na kuweza kuendelea kuirai serikali. Kwa mfano, tumekuwa na wito kwa serikali kuweza kufungua anga, open skies policy, ili kwamba tuweze kurudi na zile ndege ambazo zilikuwa zinakuja kitambo, zile charters zinapokuja kwa wingi Mombasa, zile zinavyoenda Zanzibar, inamaanisha kwamba kutakuwa na wageni wengi ambao watahitaji shughuli na huduma. Nchi ya Barcelona na nchi zingine karibuni zimetoa tahadhari kwamba kuna watalii wengi, wametoa ile resistance kwamba wageni ni wengi, wenyeji wanalalamika kwamba their privacy is interfered with. Kwa hivyo inawezekana, na ikumbuke kwamba eneo la pwani ni eneo ambalo limekuwa la kitalii kutoka siku zote. Unapomkumbuka yule the Greeks na wale ambao walikuja kujenga Fort Jesus, walikuja kama watalii. Kwa hivyo ni eneo ambalo limekuwa linavutia siku zote, na tumezungumzia kwamba mwingio, ili kuingia katika eneo la Pwani International unaingilia kufikia Mombasa. Kabla hujaenda Kilifi na Kwale, unatua kwanza ama kwa International Airport ama kwa maji yetu baharini hapa. Na hii zote zinatoa fursa za vijana kuweza kushiriki katika njia mbalimbali. Lakini pia ikumbuke kwamba kuna yale mabadiliko, ile transformation ambayo inafanyika katika sekta hii, kwamba kuna fursa nyingi ambazo zinaendelea kujitokeza kila kunapokucha. Watalii kitambo walikuwa wanakuja kutulia kwenye ufuo, na tumesema kwamba mtalii wa sasa ni young tourist ambaye anatafuta experiences. Kwa hivyo na nimeona tu kuna vijana wengi kwa mfano kule Swahili Port ambao wamefanya vizuri sana, na kuna mtaala wa mafunzo ambao nilishiriki na mentoring vijana pale, kwamba wamekuwa creative in the way kwamba wameweza kujituma zaidi. Unapotoka nyumbani, umefanya bidii shuleni, so nianzie pale, tafuta taaluma fulani ambayo unaweza kutumia, sio kuketi tu. Na kama taaluma huwezi kuipata labda kwa sababu ya fursa za kwenda shuleni, kuna volunteering opportunities. Unaweza enda kwenye hoteli, unaweza enda kwenye mkahawa, unaweza enda katika tour companies ambazo ziko, unaweza kushikana na vijana wenzako. Na sasa kuna mfumuko mkubwa, the internet penetration katika Kenya ni kubwa sana. Kwa hivyo pale uweza kumfikia mgeni popote. Leo hii wageni wengi wa katika mtandao wa kijamii wanatafuta kipi cha kufanya wapi, na hiyo inakupatia fursa nyingi sana kama kijana kuweza kuangalia ni wapi ambapo utaweza kuingia katika sekta hii na kuweza kupeana mchango wako. Na vile vile katika mipango ambayo Tourism Fund na mashirika mengine mengi yamekuwa nayo pamoja na sema colleges, ni kwamba sasa kuna short courses ambazo za kufanya, short courses za miezi 6, za mwaka mmoja, na ujipate kwamba unaweza kupata ajira katika sekta hii kwa tu utakuwa na umakini wa kutaka kuweza. Ukumbuke kwamba ni service sector. Kwa hivyo la muhimu uweze kuwa na upendezi wa kuweza kupeana huduma.
Yes.
As a service person, ukiwa na ule mwelekeo wa kutaka kupeana huduma, utafurahia sana nafasi ambazo tuko nazo katika sekta ya utalii.
Shukran sana, shukran.
All right, Dr. Sam. Now let's talk about the Tourism Council, which is the board that you chair, the Mombasa Tourism Council. What does the Tourism Council do?
The Mombasa Tourism Council is one of its kind, is one of the progressive ideas that came through dialogue and discussion between the government and the private sector.
Mm.
I work for the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers as the executive officer of the Kenya at the Kenyan coast. And so tourism industry and having developed over the years is one industry that has a lot of stakeholders, and the stakeholders are highly involved in what they do. So the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers is the umbrella organization that represents the hoteliers. We have the Kenya Association of Tour Operators. These are the people who take tourists from one point to another and bring in the tourists. Before that, we have CATA, Kenya Association of Travel Agents. So they deal with the airlines. CATO deals with the tourist ones are on the ground.
Mm.
We have pubs, entertainment and restaurants association of Kenya Perak, which represents the people who then entertain the tourists once they're here. You have Kenyan Coast Tourism Association, KCTA, which then brings all the other stakeholders in the tourism. You know, those who are not represents everybody, the airlines, the players at the destination. We have SCAL, and therefore all these associations, we realized that we were working in silos. Government was struggling to reach out to the private sector. But if you can't sit and understand what your stakeholders then require, it was difficult and we are not moving and progressing.
Yes.
And so during the last administration, there was a legislation that was enacted. You remember, local tourism is one of the devolved roles to the counties. So is beach management and entertainment and liquor management. And therefore, Mombasa County took advantage of the devolved local tourism. And in a bid to try and work together with the private sector, Mombasa Tourism Council was created and anchored in the Local Tourism Act of Mombasa County. So this particular body has representation from all the private sector associations, mainstream private sector association in the region, as well as government agencies that operate here. You realize, I always say that tourism industry is tourism policy and regulation is one of the sectors that developed by default in the country. You know, 10 years, 50 years into Kenya's independence, we didn't have a tourism act. So this just happened the other day in 2012. And therefore, by that time, a lot of agents, tourism regulatory authority to regulate the industry, a tourism fund to support financing of the sector, tourism research institute to do research for the industry and guide research just the way you have one for agriculture, and many other parastatals were created. And what happened is that even tourist police, you know, as a dedicated segment to protect tourists and tourism. So this body brings together all these particular agencies and sits together with the county government, where and domiciled in the docket of Department of Tourism, where then we're able to coordinate programs that will be able to support and benefit the industry. The role of government is to facilitate business. So what better way to do the facilitation, sitting together with the players you're supposed to serve, so that ideas are generated here, programs are put together. Then, because of lack of this coordination, every time government came up with policies, they were amiss. Many times they were amiss. And that meant that somebody had to go to court. And therefore, we thought we were not progressing as a people. So MTC gives us a platform to be able to work together, harness the potential of the destination. And therefore, we doing Mombasa Tourism Council then becomes that particular vehicle that allows the stakeholders to be able to work together with the government and champion the promotion and advancement of tourism.
When was MTC formed?
MTC was officially formed this year.
Okay.
I think 3 months ago. It was gazetted with the current CC for tourism, and I think that was very progressive of him, having realized the challenge. And it's good if you find, as government, you need to be able to harness the potential of the private sector, step out, reach out to the private sector to be able to work together with them. And therefore, this team was nominated by the different agencies and gazetted, sworn in, and now they're executing that particular mandate as a new parastatal, so to speak, within the county. It is very progressive in the sense that uh, national government is already looking at it as a model that can actually be replicated. Because if tourism is devolved and you go to many of these counties, you realize that the docket of tourism has just been neglected.
Yeah, like you cannot pinpoint.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so pretty much you're saying the Mombasa Tourism Council, it's now the body. If you want to talk about, if you want to communicate to the travelers, if you want to communicate to now people in the airline industry, everybody is under, it's an umbrella.
Yes.
Is under the Mombasa Tourism Council.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so what we try to do is we our core mandate immediately is to try and revamp Mombasa, revitalize Mombasa. As I mentioned, tourism in Mombasa has suffered a lot of challenges, and having been an anchor town before devolution, many of these other counties are new in terms of the infrastructure that they're putting in place. But Mombasa, given its size and everything, we suffered because we have to ride and we had to host government agency space and everything. And therefore MTC then comes in. If you look at what has happened, for example, over the last few years, I don't know, Gona kama ulikuwa Mombasa squeezo, we had very good town experience. You know, when you travel to a city, you want to go and enjoy the city. Lakini siku za hivi karibuni hata watalii wamepata shida kuweza kuingia mjini, kwa mfano masuala ya usalama, masuala ya usafi wa mji, restauranting. So tunafurahi kwamba karibuni tumeanza kuona tena mikahawa ikianza kurudi mjini. You know, these experiences that we're trying to put together, and also working with the young people and working with the government and the private sector, so that then we can have policies that can shape and take tourism forward. So the whole idea of MTC is to give everybody an opportunity to be able to thrive, government and the investors in this particular county, so that tourism can then achieve and help us be able to realize our potential as a destination. So cultural issues, new products, cruise tourism, partnership with the national government, so that when national government, for example, TRA or tourism police for that matter, have issues, inakuwa rahisi kwao kupitia MTC kuweza kuzungumza na serikali gatuzi, and then work together on policies, work together on programs that can then spur tourism in Mombasa County.
Okay. I think you've broken it down very well, but there's something also that you mentioned, the tourism fund.
Yes.
Yeah.
The tourism fund, what does it facilitate?
Now, tourism fund is a fund that was created by the private sector for the private sector. So it has evolved over years. Ilikuwa inaitwa kitambo some very long name, CTDLT.
CTDLT.
CTDLT. Catering Tourism Development Levy Trustees.
Oh.
Okay. So wakaja wakaita catering levy. And because it was a levy that was created baada ya zile vita tu na changamoto ambazo sekta utalii ilikuwa nazo, to try and have a fund to support the recovery and sustainability of tourism. So initially, this fund, this levy was collected at 2% of the food and beverage. So, you know, visitors goes out to dine or engage in any touristic hospitality activities.
Yes.
It was a requirement by law that the hotelier loads 2% of the bill to the guest. And this money initially had just two roles. Number one was to finance Kenya Utalii College for manpower and training of development of the labor force for the sector. And number two, marketing, KTB. But over the years, this fund has gotten many new roles, bigger mandate. They are doing a lot of programs today in terms of the core roles are still there. They have actually developed the Ronald Ngalo Utalii College in Kilifi, which we're hoping will soon be open to be able to support hospitality, maritime, and other training programs for the coast region. They still support Kenya Utalii College. They still finance tourism fund, Kenya Utalii College and KTB. But then they also support the industry in a big way. For example, when we need trainings, among the activities you're going to talk about on the tourism week, for example, is we need to be able to capacity build a particular segment of the ecosystem of tourism. Years back, they did a very fantastic program in partnership with the Mombasa Technical University of Mombasa, where we reached out to tuk-tuks and identified, not tuk-tuks, the taxi drivers, and took them into a training of sort, so that then the people who are in contact with the tourist can actually help carry the proper positive vibe of the destination. Because if I walk into your taxi and immediately you start telling me how the country is very bad and carrying out the wrong image of the country, so you're actually hurting the sector. So that was supported and financed by Tourism Fund. They support these associations in many ways, and therefore we keep encouraging all the players in the industry to contribute faithfully to this particular levy, because it is the levy that was created by the industry for the industry.
Okay, so this you mentioned 2%.
Yes.
So pretty much every I'm gonna look at it as a I don't know if as a tourist, or let's say somebody who's just decided to go to a hotel in
Yes,
Diani.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm a local citizen, right?
Yes.
And then also just a tourist. So from my bill there is 2%.
Yes.
Of what I pay.
Yes.
So that goes to the tourism fund.
That is collected by the fund. Yes.
Oh, that's collected
Yes,
by the
on
fund.
a monthly basis.
On a monthly
you
basis.
do your returns
Yes.
to the fund. Yes.
Okay. And apart from what they're collecting from the tourist, or
Yes.
just the local tourist as well, is there another contribution that's coming from the hotels to the fund, or it's
No. Tourism Fund have many other ways then, because of putting together sustainability of that fund. For example,
okay?
they have established a tourism fund building in Nairobi, so they're able to earn rent from it. They have many other fundraising programs. Their work is to ensure that the tourism sector is funded.
So then, how are the hotels contributing
They are
to the tourism sector?
to the tourism sector.
Yes.
Given the significant role we play in terms of taxes, so
Yes.
we pay a lot of taxes.
Yes.
I have explained this philosophy that when you come to a hotel,
Yeah.
we don't make chairs. Where do we get the chairs? From manufacturing. We don't do farming. Where do we get the food we sell? From agriculture.
Yes.
We don't do travel, so we facilitate that. The tourism sector simply puts together all these needs that a tourist has, and then marks it up, and then gives it as a service. Okay, so that is how we run and drive the economy. And because of the nature of the tourism sector, and a lot of money coming in foreign exchange, that is how we've been able to manage the dollar issues in the country.
Okay.
And recently, when the country was not doing very well in terms of tourism, you actually saw what happened to our dollar. Yes. So we bring in that particular revenue as a sector, and that is our contribution to the economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of time. Let's talk about the tuk-tuk rally that's equally coming up. What is that about?
Excellent. So we have a lot of activities lined up for the week. On Thursday next week, we'll start with ushering in tourists at Mombasa International Airport, just to celebrate with them, and then have beach activities at the beach to set in motion the World Tourism Day. On Friday, which will be the day of the World Tourism Day, we're inviting all residents, all hotels, every stakeholder in Mombasa to
Yes.
join us in a big procession that is going to be led by His Excellency the Governor of Mombasa, where we're going to start from the task and have a procession, and then we'll end up at the Treasury Square, where you're going to receive speeches as we mark that particular day. Then on Saturday, we have a food festival that is going to be, the chief guest will be the Deputy Governor, celebrating cuisine and exposing our tourists to the culture of food.
Yes.
Swahili food is so unique, so authentic.
It
And
is.
so that will be happening at Mama Ngina. And then the tuk-tuk race, the chief guest will be the PS for tourism, will happen on uh, uh, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happens is that we are creating new attractions for Mombasa.
Yeah.
Um, and this is what tourists are looking for. If you've heard about the donkey race in Lamu has become very famous.
Yeah.
We now have the goat derby in Diani.
Oh.
Yes.
That's
This is how it is on as MTC.
yeah.
There has been such negative, uh, 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 negative negativity about tuk-tuks. There's so many. They're so noisy. They're so rowdy, and therefore we reasoned, how can we make lemonade out of the lemons? And therefore we're reaching out to these particular stakeholders,
Yes.
working together with the suppliers and people who are in that particular space, because you have also realized we can't wish them away as a problem, but we can work with them to support them as they support the industry. Remember, tourists now use tuk-tuks as the last mile connectivity. So kutoka kwa ndege, kutoka hotelini tutapanda tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
And so this race is more of a sensitization and more of a platform for us to start working with them and appreciating them, so that when our end game is, we want to use the tuk-tuks to be our ambassadors and to carry the image and the vibe of tourism in the region. So when you board a tuk-tuk, when I pass Majengo, we'll be giving them, after the race, we'll identify a few of them and start building their numbers, give them touristic training so they become local tour guides.
Okay.
So when you pass Mamangina, you're able to say, this is Mamangina, this is the history of Mamangina. We are now passing Vita, this is the name Vita means this and everything.
Yes.
You know, so that they're able to have this information and they can become ambassadors to be able to build our brand as Mombasa. Equally, we are hoping we can use tuk-tuks to brand the different attractions that we have in Mombasa. So by working with them and branding them and having a color code for them will actually help us to be able to bring order in that particular segment. And therefore, slowly by slowly, we'll weed out the bad guys from that particular sector and be able to turn that vibe positively for Mombasa. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I know we'll talk more about the Tuk rally. I believe on the 23rd as well.
Yes.
But I know there's an award, there's a prize to be given out to. It's a competition.
Yes.
Right.
We'll have many prizes
Yes.
for the participating tuk-tuks. It has generated a lot of interest. And so we are happy to grow that as a product. And going forward, I mean, the president just came and there was a huge team that went to Germany, celebrate the Burger Festival, you know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Beer festival in Germany is a big thing.
It is.
So that is how products are developed. So we are in the initial stages of putting together products that are going to redefine Mombasa. And we are hoping that tuk-tuk race can actually be supported and grow to become one of the products that people are going to travel to come to experience in Mombasa in the coming years.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Sami Kwai. That is Sami Kwai, the chairman of Mombasa Tourism Council, just highlighting what will be happening from the 23rd to 27th during UN Tourism Week. But then also he's told us how we can actually create job opportunities, you know, in the sector, kuna room. But then also something that he's mentioned is that you're actually being taxed double, you know? Yeah.
Why are you being taxed double?
You are being taxed double, you know, because nilikuwa naangalia hii story. I've been taxed as a Kenyan citizen by the government, you know, the one that comes out of my contribution. Like when my payslip checks in, of course, there are those deductions.
Yeah.
And then when I go to sit, I go for vacation with my family. What I pay there is also taxed, you know? It's in a way. In a way.
By tourism fund?
By the tourism
That is
fund.
not a tax.
Yes, it's not a tax.
That is not a tax.
But you see, it's not an option, is it?
It isn't an option because we must find a way of developing the sector so that tomorrow,
Yes.
when you talk about open skies policy, or government needs to be able to help infrastructure.
Yes.
I've just talked about Ronan Galotali College that is coming up in Kilifi.
Yes.
Kenya Utalii College in Nairobi. So that tomorrow your service levels can actually go up. We can't depend, and we can't keep depending on government to do everything.
Yeah.
And that is how the fund was established. I've explained it is the fund for the industry by
Yes.
the industry.
I do understand you, though. I do not want to go deeper on this because we are up against
Taxation.
taxation